You're on it today, Conrad. That beach, I think that salt water in the air, you're just clear-headed today. Is that what it is?
Well, I wish that maybe somebody had spent some time at the beach before they brought The Rock back to New Orleans. I think when The Rock did the whole heel turn thing, everybody expected that to be another major piece of The Rock in WWE. And then we see The Rock come back and announce in New Orleans that, he wanted it to be special. WrestleMania is coming back, and they even had a Lil Wayne version of the Rock entrance theme, and he did a press conference after about how important New Orleans was to WWE. And Jeff, last week, WWE announced that WrestleMania is not in freaking New Orleans. After they just announced it, they rolled out the graphics, they held a press conference with the biggest movie star in the world, and then last week they said, never mind. And I don't know that it's been officially announced yet, but clearly the success in Las Vegas this year made them change their mind, which is an excellent idea. I'm all for it. But boy, if you're one of those fans in New Orleans, WWE right now feels a little ready, shoot, aim with this business. What'd you make of this? I mean, all I could think when I saw that, Jeff, was I know that they did their best to put lipstick on a pig, and they had Triple H come out and do a video explaining that they're going to be there in the future, and it's going to be the home of Money in the Bank. And I get all that. I get it. But Lord have mercy. If that announcement would have happened for AEW, boy, the internet would have just buried them, gut and quartered them. But when WWE does it, I don't know it's met with the same level of vitriol, but have you ever even heard of this? WrestleMania being, I know that WrestleMania 7 was announced as being in the LA Coliseum, and they moved it to the arena. But this is a whole nother market, Jeff. This isn't just a venue change, right?
I've got an idea, Conrad.
Okay.
You're going to have to help me out.
Okay.
Big time. You're a finance guy through and through. Can you do your best elevator pitch version of how quarterly Wall Street, how a company literally makes and breaks all of their decisions on kind of 90-day increments or 120-day increments? That's really what they focus on. Can you elaborate on that just a little bit, and I'll turn it into wrestling?
Yeah, I mean, we have earnings calls. Wrestling fans are at least familiar with those, and you usually see those once a quarter, and they're going to talk about what the revenues were and the profit was for Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4, and they're doing that because just making that announcement and sort of touting your success is either going to meet or exceed or fall short of expectations. So if a lot of analysts are predicting that a stock is got a forecast that it's going to be somewhat successful, but maybe not hugely successful, they'll rate it and they'll give a rating and a recommendation. And so a lot of these media calls are really to let the analysts out there who are making stock recommendations communicate stronger messaging to them, so they'll pass it on to their audience, so their book of business. Hey, we recommend this. This is a strong buy, that sort of thing. So it's important to meet and exceed expectations. But from what I've learned from watching WWE, sometimes you don't want to exceed those expectations too much. Because if your stock enjoys too much success, well, that's going to bring some attention that maybe you don't want. And if your stock doesn't meet expectations, well, maybe that will bring some attention that you don't want. So it's interesting, a company like WWE, which does all the hundreds of millions of dollars of revenue last year, I think they reported like a $6 million profit last year. So there's a lot of political gamesmanship when it comes to stock values and balance sheets, to say the least.
And so I think at the end of the day, I think, look, and you can talk to different promoters through the end of time. I mean, going back territory, you can look at Vince McMahon in the 80s, in the 90s, then when he went public. But how much did he really go public? At the end of the day, who is your audience? And to me, it is clear that the Endeavor's number one priority is on a quarterly basis, are they going to meet their numbers? And they have to play that political gamesmanship number every 90 days, and it's a little ebb and flow. We got to show growth, but not too much growth. We got to do this. Well, I think in their forecast, and they're sitting the high level finance guys, oh boy, Vegas was a freaking Grand Slam winner. Do we really want to come next year and come out with the New Orleans numbers? Because I'm assuming, Conrad, site fees alone put Vegas way out in front, maybe of everybody, except maybe the Saudi folks. But so I just think it's very interesting that you can just. I think we are looking at every turn, at every corner, at a completely new WWE. And I'm not just talking about The Rock and the Triple H and that situation. I think we're talking quarterly ticket prices, events, site fees, decision after decision after decision. And I don't say this out of a ha-ha moment or a jab or whatever it may be. But even to us talking about the Cena turn, like Vince believed in his heart of hearts that he knew what was best that the wrestling audience wanted. He always put, yes, his decision above. So I'm not disputing that. But at the end of the day, he's not making a decision based on what he personally likes. He was doing what he believed was best for the audience. I think TKO is doing absolutely every decision at every turn what's best for Wall Street. I think that's the difference. I think that's the new TKO mindset. And I'm not sure in the long game where all that goes. I really don't. I'm not saying good or bad. I'm just not real sure where all that goes.
Jeff, it's funny you say that. I was just reading Guy Evans' fabulous new book, Beyond Nitro. I highly recommend everyone check it out. I think Guy is perhaps one of maybe the best detail-oriented wrestling writer publisher in the space.
What a shout out.
Because he goes into such granular detail, Jeff, about the financial piece of WCW and some real analysis on the numbers and how perhaps the internet wrestling community has been fed a line of bull a time or two. But he does reference conversations and interviews and even your dad's book, where he talked about those regular calls that your dad used to have with Vince McMahon on the weekends.
Wow.
And of course, there were discussions about, Vince was being in competition with Turner. And we all know the narrative, billionaire Ted, here's this billionaire he's got to compete with and all this. But I'm saying all that to say, your dad indicated in his book, when he would have a conversation with Vince, Vince was not concerned at all about WCW winning in the end. Sure, they may have a better show here and there. They may have a better month, a better quarter, a better year. But Vince, according to your dad, was convinced that in the end he would win because a corporation couldn't run wrestling. That corporate wrestling would not work. That corporate wrestling was doomed to fail. Your dad said that Vince believed he had the institutional knowledge to make a wrestling business successful, that a corporation with an org chart and that sort of thing simply would not. And I've heard you say before, corporate wrestling doesn't work. And I don't know that all of that really clicked until just now, because I'm realizing that you probably heard that from your dad.
Oh boy.
And he maybe heard that from Vince. Now I'm sure he knew it, but there is a difference. And you know the love and respect I had for your dad, but there is a difference with being the most successful territory promoter and being the global phenomenon
Visionary
pirate leading the ship of Vince McMahon. So I'm saying, I think your dad maybe thought corporate wrestling doesn't work on my regional level. But then when he saw Vince McMahon say corporate wrestling doesn't work on a global level, I have a feeling he probably instilled that in you, because I've heard you say that, but it wasn't until you went on to your little rant here about TKO making decisions that are best for Wall Street that it really clicked. You're basically saying what your dad said to you, which he heard from Vince McMahon. Corporate wrestling doesn't work, right?
And look, we're all a sum total of our experiences, but having unique conversations with a Toby Keith, and not as a buddy, but as man, I would pick his brain, because you got to understand, the music business, the wrestling business, it's not all the same, but it generally boils down to creativity. At the end of the day, you've got to be able to write a great song. You're never, ever, ever going to be successful individually long term, like you just said, long term, if you can't sit down and write a song, because you can write a song, it can be a hit in this decade and then come back with a new artist and they're going to put their new spin on it, be a hit this decade, and then the following decade, oh shit, all of a turn, it's turned into a classic. But anyway, the creativity part of our industry of boiling it right down is creating with said talent, with character, persona, and then you've got to write the right stories. And then just, is it the singer or the songwriter that makes a number one hit? Well, candidly, it takes both to really make that classic long term. And at the end of the day, we're seeing it play out before our very eyes. Are they really concerned about John Cena's longevity? No, I know he's on retirement. Are they concerned about Rock? Are they concerned about Cody? Are they concerned about Jey Uso? No, 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 no. They want it right here, right now. And Vince was from the mindset. My old man was from the mindset. All of that, when you just take out of the whole equation the creativity of the essence of the industry, and you get into, hey, I'm not going to do what's best for character or storyline or whatever it may be. I got to make my money in the next 90 days. It's never going to work. And, I think back on my personal career, and for off and on for years, my old man, why was he so against me going to WCW 91-ish, 92-ish, all this? And look, I'd been wrestling 4 or 5 years. Maybe I wasn't ready talent wise, but maybe in the back of his mind, he also knew, you know what? They're not promoters over there. They're not creative guys. They're in a corporate setting, and nothing against whoever the booker was at the time, but hey, Vince is the guy that's going to create the talent. Boy, he was right. So yes, Conrad, I think at the end of the day, in so many ways, and I'm going to bring it back to kind of a personal point of view, is just where AEW sits right now, a privately held company that wrestling is first, because Wall Street is first at TKO. And when you get right down to talent, NXT, all of it. I mean, you look at all the decisions being made across the board on Raw, on SmackDown, on NXT, on premium live events, on Saturday Night Main Event. It has something to do with the next 90 days Wall Street report. And I don't think ultimately a creative business can succeed in that manner. And it's going to be a hard lesson. Let me ask you this, Conrad. What's TKO's exit strategy?
I don't think they have one. Do you think they do?
I mean, it's something that we could probably do a whole podcast or a whole round table. Let's get JR. Let's get Shivani. Let's get Eric. Hell, I'd love your insight, because at the end of the day, they're finance guys. And I just think there would be some type of exit strategy, because they're all going to go home with more money in their pockets than you can imagine. They're not worried about WrestleMania 50. They're just not. It's that simple. And, love him or hate him or whatever you want to think about Vince, that is what at the core of what he did. And I'm kind of tying this all the way back to JR. JR ain't going to retire because it's in his blood. Me and you have talked about that, Conrad. It's who he is. And so kind of lifers in this business, we all have kind of, we're half-ass crazy, the good, the bad, the ups, the downs, the quirks, the eccentric, being eccentric from time to time, and all that. But yeah, Conrad, what a interesting topic we dove into. But you got Logan Paul and Cena and Cody and Jay. That's going to be a hell of a tag, Conrad.
I don't know why you're laughing at that.
I guess I just wasn't aware, and it's going to sell tickets locally, no doubt, and it's going to make for I almost said filler. It's going to make for good content because I guess money, at the end of the day, Money in the Bank, the 2 Money in the Bank matches is the calling card for that. It just feels we're putting Cena in a tag, and Cody's come back.
It's clearly setting up the next pay-per-view, which will be a rematch with Uso and Logan will ultimately win it. And it'll be a rematch with Cody and Cena. Like, in a different era, they would do this tag match on Saturday night's main event and then build to the pay-per-view. But since we don't have pay-per-views anymore, now it's, hey, is this content on NBC and Peacock? Or is it just on Peacock? I mean, that's the only differentiator now. Right?
And look, at the end of the day, hell, I don't want this to come across. Look at the amount of money they are making. They're money. I mean, unprecedented profits. Well, depends on what report you read, but I mean, they are absolutely killing it. So I'm not faulting that. I'm going back to, we both kind of arrived at that. What's it look like long term? And that's where I went with, what's the ultimate exit strategy of those guys? I don't know.
You've heard me talking about credit card debt and how it's risen to a record $1.21 trillion. Well, according to the Federal Reserve Bank of New York, 60% of credit card holders are carrying a credit card balance each month, with the average credit card interest rate being 23%. But right now, we're all still living with a lot of economic uncertainty. But one thing I'm certain of is your home is still worth more than what you paid for it. And instead of carrying that debt month to month and taking on new debt, why not just use the equity in your home instead? Someone who did exactly that is a listener to this show, Bo, a machine operator from Pinson, Alabama. His family had 4 different vehicles break down around the same time. And as you can imagine, there's a whole lot of unplanned expenses there. So when life throws you a curveball and you need to phone a friend, let us hook you up like we did Bo at savewithconrad.com. At the time, we were not able to help him out, but we did give him a plan and a timeline. You see, at savewithconrad.com, we don't say no, we say not yet, but here's how. And once we hit that timeline, we were able to help him use the equity in his house to not only pay off all the debt, but also situate the vehicles. He got one fixed. He got some new vehicles. Hell, we even helped him find a more affordable homeowner's insurance plan. That alone saved him over $200 a month. Go right now to savewithconrad.com and let my team run the numbers for you. It's totally free. There's no cost. There's no obligation. And if we can't help you save some cash, we won't waste your time. It costs nothing to look. But I want to let you know right now with our team at savewithconrad.com, we also give you the year 3 guarantee. Experts agree that interest rates are expected to fall in the next couple of years. And what this guarantee allows you to do is refinance in the next 3 years without any new lender fees. So you'll lock in a better rate and reduce your monthly payments right now. And when interest rates fall in the next couple of years, you refinance again without a whole nother set of closing costs. All that newfound equity in your home is the answer to what you've been looking for if you're feeling stressed out and making minimum payments on your credit cards, or maybe you just need some cash to help with your cars, or maybe you've got a honey-do project. Maybe when you bought your house, you thought one day we'll upgrade the bathrooms, one day we'll upgrade the kitchen. You can do that right now and never have to move. Get the cash you need to turn your house into your dream home with no money out of pocket at savewithconrad.com. Again, you don't need perfect credit or money out of your pocket. Even if you were bankrupt a couple of years ago, we can still help you out. We're not going to say no. We're going to say not yet, but here's how. Find out how easy it is to let my family save money for your family at savewithconrad.com. NMLS number 2129, equal housing lender, savewithconrad.com.